What's up, a Cinema Shogun here with a quick little warning for my Canadian subscribers. You know I love my peeps up in Canada. I don't know what the hell has happened to your country over the last few years. And to be frank, I don't know what the hell is going on with my country right now. But nevertheless, I love my folks up in Canada. They're always so nice and polite, at least the ones that I've met. And I have thousands of subscribers from Canada. Well, it's recently come to my attention that the UK has been warning Canadian officials that a terrorist attack is very likely in Canada. That it is very likely that an attack is going to happen soon in Canada. They've even issued travel advisories and warnings. Meanwhile, the folks over in Canada, the officials, Justin Trudeau, they're trying to downplay it as if this is not going on. They're trying to keep this on the hush-hush. Now, how Trudeau remains in office, I don't know. I have yet to talk to a single person in the world that likes the dude. All of the Canadians I talk to hate him, and everyone else from around the world that I talk to absolutely hates Fidel Justin Trudeau. But anyways, so the UK is warning that it's very likely that something's going to happen in Canada soon. And you would think that if they put out that type of warning, that it's not just hot air. You would think that they have some intelligence, some type of evidence to back up these claims. Obviously, there has to be some type of credible threat. You know, it's not like, hey, a terrorist attack could happen in Canada. We don't know. No, they're saying it's very likely that it's going to happen soon. Let's go ahead and dive into this article, though. UK says terror attack very likely to strike Canada as Ottawa labels threat medium. On the British government's travel advisory page for Canada, an update from November reads, there is a high threat of terrorist attack globally affecting UK interest and British nationals, including from groups and individuals who view the UK and British nationals as targets. You should remain vigilant at all times. This is followed by a bold-faced warning. Terrorists are very likely to try to carry out attacks in Canada. It adds, attacks could be indiscriminate, including in places visited by foreigners. You should remain aware of your surroundings. Keep up to date with local media reports and follow the advice of local authorities. Now, it says that you should keep up with local media reports and follow the advice of local authorities. The only problem is the local media reports in Canada and the local authorities in Canada are trying to downplay this as if it's a big nothing burger, as if there's nothing at all to worry about. Nothing to see here, folks. Even though the UK obviously has some info that something bad's going to happen in Canada, don't worry, turn a blind eye to it. That's what Canadian officials want to happen. But you see, you can't ignore this warning. Why, you ask? I think that this warning is very credible. And I say that because over the last week or two, there's already been several things that have happened in Canada that are an extreme cause for concern. Hell, this week alone, there have been 3 attacks on Jewish schools, 2 attacks on one school in particular. No one has been hurt yet, but literally people have done drive-bys on these schools in Canada. That's something you don't hear about much, at least down here in America. We got so much crime down here that we very rarely hear of any type of big crimes taking place in Canada. So hearing about people doing drive-bys on Jewish schools, that's kind of scary. But that has happened. But the Canadian government, they want to downplay this threat And I believe a lot of other countries around the world want to downplay this threat as well, because they know that they have been letting these illegals in. They've been flooding the country with all of these people from the Middle East and from God knows where, who hate Canada, they hate America, they hate the UK, they hate British people, they hate everything, right? But Trudeau and the Canadian government, they're too caught up in this woke, pandering, virtue signaling nonsense that even though there's a credible threat against their citizens, they're not going to let their citizens know, because if they did, maybe it would be deemed as racist. Oh, you're Islamophobic. You're a bad person because you're letting people know that, hey, these people who support Hamas in Palestine may carry out attacks on Canadians. But you can't acknowledge that. Even though the UK is literally warning Canada and warning their own citizens not to travel to Canada right now because something bad is going to happen, the Canadian government refuses to acknowledge it because in doing so, they feel like it's not politically correct. Now, if it were white people, no problem. They had no problem labeling the truckers who did that protest in Canada. They had no problem labeling them as terrorists. They had no problem dragging their names through the mud. They had no problem shutting down their bank accounts. You name it. Totally peaceful protest of actual Canadians, not people who were shipped from across the world. Actual Canadians protesting for their rights and freedoms. They were attacked, shut down, silenced in every single way. Yet we have a real credible threat about actual terrorists, and they're on hush mouth. They refuse to say anything about it. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to understand one thing. These Hamas supporters, these people from overseas, they're not our real enemies. You want to know who our real enemies are? The people running our countries. The people running America. The people running these countries over in the UK. The people running Canada. They're our true enemies. They're purposely filling our country to the brim and filling their own countries to the brim with people who go against their values. They're purposely doing this. And they don't want to acknowledge it. They want to line their own pockets, and they want to destroy Western civilization in the process. That's why you see the American government, the Canadian government, they have no problem labeling actual citizens as bad people for, I don't know, maybe caring about their country or caring about their freedoms. You're a bad person, but hey, if we ship all of these random people from the Middle East over here and they start pillaging through our villages and they start, carrying out terrorist attacks and R-wording our women and doing all of this crazy stuff, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. These people are misunderstood. So all I'm going to say is be very careful out there. Be very careful. And I know that this is mainly directed at people in Canada, but this is a warning for people everywhere. Because if there's a warning for Canada, you better bet your ass there's warnings for America that we don't know about. It's funny because here in America, I'm able to find out, oh, okay, there's these warnings about something bad about to happen in Canada. But I guarantee you those warnings are out there for America as well. We just haven't heard about it yet. So I think everyone needs to be very careful. Because our own governments are obviously working against us. They're not working in our best interest. And I think it's kind of silly that I even have to be sitting here making this video when the elected officials in Canada are trying to sweep this news under the rug. But I guarantee you, if something happens, they'll be like, oh, the warnings were out there. There were signs, we knew. And then they'll point back towards the same information that I showed you all after they tried to cover it up until something bad happened. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous, you could drop a super thanks to support my channel, because YouTube is definitely not supporting my channel right now. But while you're down there dropping a comment, you can also support my channel for free by hitting that like button, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, and sharing this video on social media. But with all that being said, I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.